In today's video, we are going to discuss the Python error message, syntax error, invalid syntax. We'll look at 11 different causes for this message and how to correct the error in each case. Some functions, like print, are capable of taking multiple arguments. These arguments, which can be literals, variables, expressions, or the result of other function calls, must be separated by commas. Omitting a comma is a syntax error. Unfortunately, Python does not correctly identify the location of the missing comma, marking a later point in the line instead. Correcting the error requires the programmer to examine earlier portions of the line to identify the location where the comma needs to be inserted. Inserting the missing comma corrects the error. The parentheses in a Python expression must be balanced. A syntax error is reported if the number of open parentheses does not match the number of closed parentheses. Python is generally able to identify the location of the mismatched parentheses when the number of closed parentheses exceeds the number of open parentheses, but this is not the case when the number of open parentheses is larger. In such cases, Python may not detect the error until it parses the next line in the file, and as such, the error actually resides on an earlier line than what is reported. The error is corrected by adding or removing parentheses so that the open and closed parentheses are balanced. Literal strings in Python can be enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. Including a single quote within a string enclosed by single quotes is a syntax error, as is including a double quote within a string enclosed by double quotes. Yet there are times when it's necessary to include these characters within a string. When this need arises, one can represent the single or double quote using a two-character combination referred to as an escape sequence. The escape sequence consists of a backslash followed by the character to include in the string. The leading backslash tells Python to include the character in the string instead of viewing it as an enclosure character for the string, and this eliminates the syntax error. Python reserves 35 words for its own use. These words are not legal variable names. Attempting to assign a value to one of these reserved words is a syntax error, but the error message provided by Python only indicates that the syntax is invalid and highlights the assignment operator rather than the reserved word. This error can be corrected by choosing a name for the variable that is not a reserved word. In Python, the single equal operator is used for assignment. It copies the value on the right side of the operator into the variable on the left side of the operator. The double equal operator is used for comparison. It evaluates the expressions on each side of the operator, resulting in true if they are equal and false otherwise. Using the single equal assignment operator instead of the double equal comparison operator in the condition of an if statement or a while loop is a syntax error. Python displays a message showing the relevant line and the offending symbol is highlighted. The error can be corrected by replacing the single equal with a double equal. The relationships for less than or equal to and greater than or equal to are represented by the two-character sequences less than equal and greater than equal respectively. The order of the symbols in these operators is significant. Using equal less than or equal greater than is not correct and results in a syntax error. When this occurs, Python identifies the offending sequence of characters. Replace equal less than with less than equal or equal greater than with greater than equal to correct the error. Both if statements and while loops require the programmer to provide a condition that is evaluated to determine whether or not the statements that follow it are executed. Omitting this condition is a syntax error. Python indicates that the colon is the location of the error because an expression that evaluates to a Boolean result needs to be inserted between the if or while reserved word and the colon. Inserting the missing condition corrects the error. Python uses a colon to separate the condition for an if statement and a while loop from the body of the statement or loop. Python also uses a colon to separate the body of a function from its initial definition line and the collection of values used by a for loop from the body of the loop. Omitting the colon in any of these situations is a syntax error. In each case, Python identifies the character immediately ahead of the necessary colon as the location of the error. Adding the missing colon corrects the error. A Python for loop must include the reserved word for, followed by a legal variable name, the reserved word in, and the collection of values that will be processed by the loop. Omitting any of these elements is a syntax error. The location Python identifies for the error varies depending on which element is missing, but is always later in the line than the location of the omitted element. Inserting the missing element in the correct location solves these problems. Elements in a list literal must be separated by commas. Omitting one of the commas is a syntax error. Python reports the element immediately following the missing comma as the location of the error, which means that this error is usually relatively easy to identify. However, it's worth noting that this can result in Python reporting the error on the line after the location where the comma is missing when the list literal spans multiple lines. The error is corrected by inserting the missing comma. Failing to correctly balance the opening and closing square brackets in a program is a syntax error. Such an error can occur when creating a list literal, accessing a particular element in a list, or accessing a particular value in a dictionary. When an open square bracket is omitted, Python often reports the unmatched closed square bracket as the location of the error. When a closed square bracket is omitted, the location reported for the error may be 1 or even 2 lines later than the location where the error actually occurred. As a result, it's important to examine earlier portions of the reported line as well as the immediately preceding lines to locate the error. Inserting the missing square bracket corrects the error. There are many different errors that cause Python to report syntax error invalid syntax. This video has examined 11 causes, but there are several others such as attempting to import a module that is named with a reserved word, attempting to use an equal sign rather than a colon to separate the keys from the values in a dictionary literal, and using a semicolon instead of a colon at the end of the header line for an if statement, loop, or function definition, just to name a few. Python will always report a syntax error if one is present, but the location it indicates may be later than the actual location of the error. As a result, you should begin by examining the location identified in the error message, but then also consider the earlier portions of the indicated line and the line that immediately precedes the one indicated in the error message. Examining these lines carefully should allow you to locate and correct the error. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that it helps you locate and correct errors in your Python programs.